Okay, and then since we are recording, we just ask that you remain on mute so we can get a good recording to post online. But then we will have questions and answers after Eric's presentation here. So if you don't mind just holding until then, or if you want, you can put them in the chat and then we'll get to them at the end. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Eric Iverson, our Sustainability and Resilience Director.
Thanks, Shauna. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see the presentation. Again, as Shauna Warner has mentioned, I'm Eric Iverson with City of Tempe. I'm Sustainability and Resilience Director. We have many other city staff from various departments that are here as well to answer any questions that you all may have. We also have our design team, J2, with representatives here, and then also our construction contractor, Aiken Gardner, is present with any construction-related questions. So I did want to specifically mention that Jeff Velasquez from J2, our design team, is on and has been leading this project from their firm. And then Shelley Seiler, our interim engineering and transportation director, is also on co-leading this project with me. So with that, I will go into the presentation and and share with you all through this public meeting today where we're at this project and what to expect next. So hopefully I can advance my screen. Okay.
It's advancing, Eric. It just takes a minute.
Yeah, it takes a minute. Okay. Just to let everyone know, every project, every capital project and effort at the city is attached to the 100+ council priorities that have been adopted by our city council over the years. And so these are the types of things that this project is aiming to improve in our community. So everything from just investing in the betterment of our infrastructure to Americans with Disability Act improvements, definitely trying to upgrade all those infrastructure elements with this project. And I apologize for the pace of the slides moving. Jeez. Okay, there we go. The items that we're going to talk about is give you a little bit of an update how we got here, what the project history is, specifically the major elements that will be changing out on the street, the hardscape and the planting, and then give you a little bit of a timeline with our construction and next steps. And overall, we wanted to make sure everyone is aware of really where this project comes from. There has been really no substantial reinvestment in the infrastructure on Mill Avenue since the 1980s. So a lot of the original genesis of this project comes from needing to do infrastructure for basic systems, electrical and irrigation, for example. Those are things that happen below the road and not really necessarily visually, aesthetically to the community, but is a major part of the funding for this project and the major reason for it. While we're doing that work, we want to make sure that we get the softscape and landscape elements right. Things like tree canopy, shade and seating elements, enhancing that public space. And really, we think this is an opportunity in a lot of ways to highlight some of the next era improvements that are happening in Tempe, things like sustainability, as well as celebrating the entire history of Tempe, not just our contemporary history, but all the way back to our indigenous times in Tempe. And we want to make everyone aware of the fact, and we've been sharing this throughout the public process, that we're working with many stakeholders. You can see a lot of them listed here, as well as multiple departments of the city. And I think we've gone to almost every commission, if not all the boards and commissions at the city of Tempe. So you can see those listed here. If there's a team, stakeholder group, or any board and commission that you would like for us to reach out to, we certainly can as we go forward. And then to remind everyone, we are looking at Mill Avenue in the core of our downtown from University Drive on the south to Rio Salado Parkway on the north. It's a half-mile segment of Mill Avenue in downtown. And then, as I've mentioned, we are trying to talk about and celebrate the whole history of Tempe. It's a location rich with history for the entire state, as one of the oldest cities in the region. And so we're in conversations throughout the community about what's important out here on the street. You can see images here on the screen that highlight some of the things that we have heard from you all and from boards and commissions and the council, to give us direction on how we design this project and the types of things that we want to celebrate. This is the schedule. I'm not going to go into all the details here, but you can see all the work that has happened heretofore and that we are looking at with this final public meeting process this week or today. We're looking at having construction starting in the next couple of months, March into April of 2024. And then a little bit more detail about our public outreach. I mentioned that we're talking with stakeholders, boards and commissions, business owners, many different partners to get this project right. We also did this high level and granular level outreach, door to door, canvassing in the downtown, all of our typical project notification outreach, like through social media, other public meetings that happened all last summer of 2023 and fall of 2023. We have also gone to council multiple times to receive their feedback. And then here we are today, nearly with the completed construction documents, preparing to go into construction, having this open house, three open house opportunities today. And to remind everyone, there has been some council direction as we've gotten feedback on certain project elements. We have received project direction from the council to determine what materials would be used for paving, what materials would be used for trees, et cetera. So this is a little bit of an overview, an aerial overview of what we're looking at on Mill Avenue, how it will look in the future with this project. So a couple of things to note. We're taking a slight deviation from the brick that's out on Mill Avenue today. We will be still retaining that brick, salvaging some of the existing and adding new brick to do a better and really good installation of the brick on Mill Avenue for the mid-block portion. So for most of the street on Mill Avenue, you will have that brick that you're familiar with today, but an upgraded version of it, a little bit better construction going forward. And then at the intersections, if you can see on the screen here, right at 4th Street, you see that brick becomes a little bit more of a gray concrete unit paver, as we call it. It's basically a gray brick. Gives you a little bit of variety from what we have out there today and gives us more opportunity for some color, as well as a little bit of change in materials, making a little bit more contemporary street. So brick is the preferred treatment in the pedestrian zone on Mill Avenue with these concrete unit pavers at the intersection. We also, and I will go into more detail in it in later slides, but we have right on the corners, you can see a call out there for lithomosaic artwork paving. These are really sections of the street. There's multiple locations that we will be highlighting the history of Tempe through some imagery in the pavement that you would experience as a pedestrian. Here's a little bit more detail on that pedestrian level experience that you can expect. You can see in the distance the red brick that we're all familiar with on Mill Avenue today, and then you can see the changes at the intersection with the new treatments. And another view of that. We also wanted to mention that we will be putting in new amenities on the street. So everything from new trash cans, new bike racks, to new seating that you can see here. These are some typical images that would be a part of the streetscape in different parts of that half mile. We also are introducing structural shade. So in addition to the trees, new trees that we will be planting to create shade and cooling, we are introducing structural shade, similar to how we do structural shade at transit stops and in parks. We want to introduce multiple locations where we're adding some color and some good structural shade to give convenience and comfort as you're traveling down the street. So here's a photo simulation of what that will look like at the corner of 6th and Mill. This is I guess that would be the southeast corner of Mill and 6th, in front of the Casa restaurant. You can see that shade structure there. think this image is still kind of pulling up. There we go. We also kind of pivoting to the landscape for the street. Today, everyone is familiar with the fact that we have ficus trees out there. That is the tree that has been selected for 40 plus years since the street was initially refreshed in the 80s. We are introducing 5 new tree species that will be the new landscape layout on Mill Avenue. The reason for doing this is that we're trying to have be more water conscious of the tree palette that we're selecting, as well as introducing more drought tolerant trees that provide a little bit of seasonal color for the street, as well as still provide good visuals to historic buildings and shade well into the future. So we are introducing multiple trees. We'll show you some pictures of what those trees look like in later slides, but wanted to call out these 5 here. There's a olive tree. There's what we call the tipuana tree, a smaller pistache tree, the mastic tree, and then a larger red pistache tree, as well as then the final tree that we're looking at is the eucalyptus papuana, a little bit more slender, from a different desert, but a very desert tolerant tree. We want to mention that the existing ficus, while many have been removed because they've reached the end of their lifespan or had been stressed through the summer heat, any mature and or healthy ficus trees will remain on the street today through the construction of the project and be part of the project into the future. But as those ficus trees reach the end of their lifespan, they will be replaced with one of the 5 that you see here. We also have I mentioned earlier, sections on the street, 22 locations on the street where we are introducing some imagery that will be in the pavement that you can see a little bit of the history of Tempe. And so we have not identified all the images. We have identified many of them, certainly open to feedback on these, but these are the images. We call them litho because the treatment for these is really a litho mosaic, litho tile mosaic treatment that we'll be using to put these images in the pavement. So hopefully you see here a very diverse collection of images that represent the hundreds and hundreds of years in downtown Tempe, all the way from the origination of Tempe with our indigenous peoples, Peeposh and O'odham, and to contemporary history with some of the architecture like the Valley Art Theater that is out there today. So these images are really meant to tell the story of who Tempe is, where we come from, and who we are today. Want to also mention with this slide, because the question has come up through our public process. For those of you that are familiar, we have brass markers on the street that indicate some of the music and cultural history of the city. Folks like Walt Richardson and historic buildings like the Long Wong's Bar that was there. Those images or those brass plaques that are in the street today will remain and be part of the project going forward. And then I went through briefly the layout of the trees for Mill Avenue. This is what those trees look like. The pistache tree on the upper left corner, the tipu tree in the center right top, the olive tree, a eucalyptus tree in the bottom left, and then the mastic tree. This gives us, again, seasonal color, good drought tolerant, water conscious trees from multiple deserts across the planet. And then really good, we think, diversity of tree species that is healthier for our urban forest. And here's some more close-up visuals of those trees. We also want to mention, in the opening slides, I talked about how we're trying to design all of our projects, not just Mill Avenue, but Mill Avenue specifically in this case, with a mind for sustainability going forward. So everything from the trees we pick to how we're designing the sidewalk can be influenced with sustainable practices. One of the things we're doing is water harvesting as much as we can with the rainfall that happens in our desert city, collecting that, sending that into the root systems of our trees to ensure their long-term health. We're also integrating in, this is something that has been a desire with our parks and urban forestry team, as well as our sustainability team, this concept of silvacells, which is really about root health, optimal root health, and optimal water capture for tree species. So we are integrating that into this project. This will be an underground system you won't really see at the ground level, but you will hopefully see the results of it through stronger and healthier trees. So a little bit of a summary on some of the tree statistics. I've talked about this as we've gone along with the presentation, but we are trying to choose trees that are a little bit more appropriate for our Sonoran Desert. We're trying to create a diversity of species. Diversity is strength, and that applies definitely with our urban forest. We're trying to combine trees that have larger and smaller variation, as well as color variation. So we get seasonal color. We also get the ability to, where we want to have more shade, we can have more shade trees. Where we want to have more visual opportunities, we can go with a little bit lower profile tree. So all those things were considered as we went forward with determining what our landscape palette would be. In all, we have roughly 150 trees that will be planted on Mill Avenue. Construction overview. So this is a very busy part of our city, and we are having to be very careful about how we implement the phases of construction. So we want everyone to know and rest assured that we will make individualized outreach with all of our property owners and stakeholders on the street. And so that will happen through our contractor of Aiken Gardner and in coordination with the Downtown Tempe Authority. We also, we are putting together that phasing now, so there'll be more information available at upcoming meetings. But the bulk of our funding and our construction is going to happen this calendar year into calendar year 2025. We also have additional fundings in later year that we will be using to close out the project and finalize any details of the construction. But bulk of the construction will happen in calendar year 2024 into next year, 2025. And then I mentioned this in the previous slide, but we will do a lot of individualized outreach for the project construction to make sure that we're maintaining access to businesses, we're minimizing the disruption to the traffic on the street, minimizing the disruption to the pedestrian experience, outdoor patios, all those kinds of things that are really important for our business community to make sure that they're continuing to operate during the disruptive period of construction. And we will also be making sure that all the major events that happen in downtown Tempe, like the arts festivals, that those will be able to do what they need to do to have those events continue successfully as they do. And then in summary, we wanted to just, because it's been 40 years that we've really done a refresh of Mill Avenue holistically like this, we wanted to kind of remind you all, and we've touched on some of these through the presentation, but these are some of the major elements that you will see that will change on Mill Avenue. So introduction of new tree species that today will fold in with the ficus that were there. We're integrating in practices of sustainability, also referred to as low impact development, things like water harvesting, the use of those silvacells that I mentioned earlier, that is an underground health of the tree root systems technology. We're also expanding upon the story of our Tempe history. We've been really good in Tempe about protecting a lot of our historic buildings and recognizing those in kind of the contemporary history, the last 100, 150 years in Tempe. We want to make sure that through this project, we're recognizing the whole history of Tempe. And again, that goes all the way back to our indigenous roots in this region and specifically in the city. Right next to the river and in downtown Tempe, we have communities that hundreds and hundreds of years ago existed. We want to tell that story. We also want to make sure that people are aware of the fact that there's a future trailhead that we would like Mill Avenue to link to the Butte. And so we're keeping that opportunity open going forward into the future. There will be a new intersection treatment, formal intersection treatment at 5th and Mill. Council has just made direction on that. It's basically an all pedestrian phase. for that intersection that we will make sure is folded into the construction of this project. I mentioned earlier that we're having shade structures out there. We will be adding those into the project. That's something that we do not have today. We are expanding the pedestrian zone in some sections where we can, so we call those bulb outs, and those will be a part of the project. And then overall, we feel that this is a project that's giving us a stronger pedestrian-focused street on Mill Avenue. Hopefully expanding that good, comfortable, accessible, cool place that Mill Avenue is, making it even better for the next generation. And with that, I think, yeah, that is our last slide. And I will stop talking and hand it over to Shauna to facilitate any questions you all may have. Thank you.
This is Vice Mayor Jennifer Adams, and this looks really good, Eric. And I'm very excited about moving this project forward. As you know, I've been frustrated with the slowness in the past, but you've got a nice, aggressive timeline and schedule. Love the trees, and just really appreciate your hard work on this. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, then feel free to put those either in the chat, or you're welcome. There's not too many people. I think we could all go in order to, if you want to come off mute and ask a question or raise your hand, then I can call on you. So either way, for any questions for Eric and the team. Okay, Eric, your first one is asking if the plaques that you referenced will remain in the place they are or be moved somewhere else, the music ones.
Yeah, that's a great question. Those brass plaques will remain where they are. That's the goal, because several of the plaques represent buildings, in some cases, buildings or businesses that may no longer exist. For example, Long Wong. So they will remain in place as they are because they're generally attached to that specific area. We are open. We want to be clear, though, open to feedback if there's a spot or some plaque that is recommended to move.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so regarding new seating, I recall seating specifically being removed due to homeless camping on them. How will you ensure that history won't be relived?
Great question. I don't know who the question's from, but we hopefully this individual, certainly we would love to talk in a lot of detail with you. We in very recent history, the city council has invested deeply in programs to work on addressing helping our unsheltered community, as well as day-to-day cleaning and maintenance of the street. We have more folks from our park ranger team to our DTA teams that are giving the attention on Mill Avenue that it deserves. And so that is part of our strategy. That's part of my response to your question. And then again, the larger picture is the programs that the council is investing in with our unsheltered community to provide pathways to housing and jobs, et cetera, to improve those lives as well. So those two strategies, kind of more micro level on the street of more intense staffing support and cleaning, as well as the larger picture of addressing some of the support programs financially and resource-wise for our unsheltered community.
And are there any other questions? And so then, Eric, there's a follow-up question. And Tom, tell me if I'm saying your name wrong. It's Tom Tokoff, and it could be that we can get him connected with some of our community health and human services as well. But he's just asking about if the seating is taking over, are there people that would ask them to move on?
Yeah, I guess I would refrain from giving a specific answer on that, but I would again point to Yes, we feel like we have some strategies and as well as staffing resources to assist with that. We do think it's important to have comfortable seating on the street. We are aware of some of those concerns that I think his name was Tom that is bringing up. And so I appreciate that comment, and we will certainly take it back with our whole team. But I do feel like we do have some strategies in place that can address that. But again, we also need to make sure that we, we'll also keep monitoring this as we move forward.
Okay, so and Tom says thanks. Thank you, Tom. I don't see hands raised, and there's no other questions in the chat, so we'll give you just one more minute. Otherwise, as I mentioned, we will have the recording up online, so if you know of anyone else interested in the project, they can go back and see the presentation. And then also, I think Eric might have mentioned, we'll be out in person this afternoon over at the Tempe Transportation Center at 3:30, and then down at the library at 6 p.m. if anyone would like to come and talk to the team as well. Otherwise, Eric, I don't see any other questions if you wanted to wrap anything up or.
No, we're very excited about this project. I don't know if there's any other council members on here, but or city manager office leadership. Appreciate our Vice Mayor Jennifer Adams being on the call. Council has been really supportive in allocating funding for this and encouraging us to move as quickly as we can, noting the importance of this street for our whole city and really for the region. So we're excited about it. We're excited about these new elements that are being introduced, and I think gives a really good foundation for the street going forward. And encourage you to stay in tune with the project. All of our construction updates will be provided on our website, and you'll see a lot of changes in the next year and a half. Thank you.
Okay, I think the last question snuck in from Mary. What is the budget?
Yeah, this might be a question for Shelley, actually. I want to say our total budget is 21 million that's attached to this project. And that's, again, that dollar amount, and someone please jump in if I don't have that exactly correct. It's over multiple, council has allocated that over multiple fiscal years. And it really represents not just the stuff you see above the ground with the trees and some of the pavement, but that under the ground stuff, everything from the irrigation systems that support, things like the irrigation systems that support the health of the trees and the plants, to the electrical that supports things like the Mill Avenue Festival and the Holiday Fantasy of Lights parade. So those under the ground infrastructure enhancements are a big part of this and a big chunk of that funding.
And Shelley, when you're answering that, maybe you can reference, because Eric mentioned multiple years, the end date estimated.
Sure. So Eric, you were right. It's 21 million that included both design and construction. And then the funding, so in 23-24, there was allocated about 10 million of that. And then in I'm trying to find the exact one here, 24-25, or I'm sorry, 25-26, we have another 5.8, and then 26-27. So construction will be ongoing for probably about 2 years. But we will keep updating, our website as we progress through the project, and let you all know if you want to just pay attention to that website of how we're progressing and when that exact end date may be.
Okay, so thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.